Jason.
Gracias. And we're gonna talk today as part of our event on supply chains and economic opportunities. I also want to recognize the fact the minister is here with a fantastic delegation. He's here accompanied, of course, by Dominican Republic's ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Guzman, as well as I think there are actually 3 other former Dominican ambassadors to the United States here in the room. But the minister also comes with a delegation of nearly 20 private sector representatives, some of whom will be speaking as part of today's program. So bienvenido to all. We're going to be speaking both today in English and in Spanish. Headsets are available for those in the room for translation, as well as there's translation for those watching online. Vamos a hablar inglés y español. Hoy hay traducción disponible tanto como la audiencia en línea y en persona. Why are we focusing on economic opportunities in the Dominican Republic? Well, for one, the Dominican Republic continues to be, and I think it has become an even more important ally for the United States. And among other things, Dominican Republic is, of course, a member of the Americas Partnership for Economic Prosperity, where we hosted President Abinader as part of the welcome dinner for the APEP Leaders Summit here in November. As well, it's important it's going through continued strides taken to advance economic growth, as well as a more sustainable agenda. Both of these factors have been incredibly important in creating an atmosphere of stability and also economic opportunities for its private sector. The Dominican Republic, of course, is known internationally for its spectacular beaches and hospitality, which I assume many of you watching online can attest to. I certainly can attest to the great beaches and the hospitality of the Dominican Republic. But there's much more to the Dominican Republic. There's much more than beaches and wonderful hospitality. There's a diverse set of industries that span from technology and agriculture to mining and renewable energy. And while the region faces many challenges, the Dominican Republic is taking steps toward building climate adaptability measures, diversifying its energy matrix, and developing supply chain resilience. So I look forward to speaking about these opportunities more, and also even when traveling to the Dominican Republic, as I was mentioning to the minister beforehand, look forward to being in the Dominican Republic in March for the IDB annual meeting, as well as for the 6th Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas ministerial meetings, and then of course in 2025 for the Summit of the Americas, and many other opportunities between March and 2025. Minister Bisogno has been at the forefront of the Dominican Republic's business environment agenda as Minister of Industry, Commerce, and SMEs over the last three and a half years in the position. And for nearly 20 years before that, he was elected on 4 occasions as a member of the Dominican Republic's House of Representatives for the National District, where he served as president of the Economy, Planning, and Development Committee, as well as member of the Industry, Commerce, and Treasury Committee. So I'm now going to go ahead and transition to Spanish. Ministro, de nuevo, muchas gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Me gustaría hablar preguntándole sobre la importancia de la relación entre la República Dominicana y los Estados Unidos. En noviembre, como parte de esta visita del presidente, hubo una reunión bilateral entre el presidente Biden y presidente Abinader. Para usted,
Abinader, could you share some of the success stories of the relationship with the United States, and what are some of the goals that you have achieved as part of this relationship? Well, first of all, I would like to thank the Atlantic Council for welcoming us here today, as not only us, but the entire group from the private sector of the Dominican Republic that is here with us today. And the current ambassador, Ms. Guzman, together with her, we have 2 former ambassadors with us today. The Dominican Republic has always been an ally to the United States, and we've always seen the U.S. as a referent. And this has been consolidated with Abinader's administration at a social level, economic level, but also political level. Socially, we have a Dominican community living here in the United States. Their participation in different industries is truly important. And from here, every year, they send $10 billion in remittances to the Dominican Republic. Therefore, there is a big connection between both countries. And then at a political level, we share the principles of freedom and democracy that the United States represent, and we work together. And that shows in a tangible manner, for example, in terms of the fight against drug trafficking, also the trade that we have between both countries that has increased by 5% yearly. We have a trade representing $18 billion in foreign direct investment from the United States of more than $10 billion. So there is really a very healthy and prosperous as well as positive relationship with the United States. What would you like to achieve in the future through this relationship? We would like to consolidate the industries where we can participate. Before the pandemic, the United States was facing a challenge, which was figuring their investments, especially in Asia, and they had to figure out also a new value chain. Investments of the US in Asia right now represent only 4% of added value components of what is made over there. If that is brought to the coast, close to the United States, nearshoring, we would be talking about 40%. What cannot be absorbed in the United States could go to the Dominican Republic or other countries in the region. We've developed a partnership, the Alliance for Development in Democracy, with other countries in the region. And here we also have the CHIPS Act. Two, we have free trade zones, and we have a new program that could be developed. We're ready for it. We are coming with a mission to the United States precisely because we've commissioned a study to the Technology and Innovation Institute by recommendation of the Department of State. This report will be launched tomorrow, and I think we actually passed with a very good grade in terms of attracting investment to the Dominican Republic. I believe tomorrow's panel will be very interesting. I am going to be part of the panel together with the minister, and that's why I say so. In terms of value chains, what are some of the actions that the Dominican Republic has implemented in order to strengthen these chains, looking also at the future of the Dominican Republic? As well, as you mentioned, for the last 3 years, we've been working together with the World Bank as well as the IDB and other institutions in order to help the Dominican Republic grow. We've also developed our human capital. We have identified how important it is to strengthen our laws and as well as the importance of foreign direct investment. In terms of infrastructure, I think the location of our plants are very important, and not only in terms of the free trade zone, but also different manufacturing plants. We could guarantee the first part of a process for which we could be ready. There are other countries in the region, two other countries in the region that are ready. They would be in charge of the last stages which would be testing the chips and packaging them. That was done before in Asia, but now it could be done in our country. We are closer. We have human capital that has been trained. We have good connectivity with the entire region. We have 12 airports with more than 150 destinations. We have 8 international ports with more than 130 destinations. We also have 5 cruising ports, and most of the maritime and airlines go through the Dominican Republic. You mentioned human capital, and that's very important, but what has the Dominican Republic done on top of that in order to reinforce their role as a destination for the value chains. What have you done in order to ensure that these investments grow in the Dominican Republic? Well, I also mentioned the report that will be launched tomorrow. It will be public tomorrow, and that will show what has been done here. Right now, we're here in the Atlantic Council looking for your support. We are looking to establish a good relationship, and we're not talking only on behalf of the government. We would also involve the private sector. They want to take part in all this, and the presence of President Abinader in each one of the international events is truly important. You mentioned about the recent summit that took place, but last year we were at the summit when the APEP was sent, the ECPA, and then also we have the Alliance for Development in Democracy. And in 2025, the Dominican Republic will actually host all the countries in the region as part of the summit of the Americas. What do you think of this summit as part of this strategy to strengthen investment in the country? It's truly important for us. When we started in 2020 with the administration of President Abinader, it was in the midst of the pandemic, and the Dominican Republic can be actually a model to see how we or learn how we overcame the pandemic, how we maintain inflation low, how we worked with the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and how they've said we can be a role model in terms of handling these very difficult situations. At this point, we have record reserves in our central bank for more than 15 billion US dollars. And the summit that will take place next year is a great opportunity for us. In what way? Well, this year we will have municipal elections on February 18th and presidential elections in May. And you will be able to see firsthand how the Dominican Republic maintains economic, social, and political stability even during election times. And I'm saying this because even the United States is right now transitioning. We have a presidential election process going on. We are committed to continuing with the same rhythm, the same strength, the same institutionality, and the same growth. Okay, let's now talk about the role of the Dominican Republic as part of the Caribbean, but at the same time as part of Central America, as it shows the CAFTA agreement, CAFTA DR. So how do you play this double role, this double positioning? How does that help the Dominican Republic in terms of strengthening investments in the country? Well, we are also signatories of the EPA. We have an agreement with the European Union. So from the Dominican Republic, we have access to more than 100 million people at a global market, in a global market through free trade agreements. So of course, we have the DRCAFTA in place. That means that some industries that could be positioned in Asia or anywhere else, as it has happened recently. For example, we had an American industry that moved to the Dominican Republic that was in Nicaragua before, and it reduced its delivery times by 3 days thanks to the logistics that we had in place towards the United States. The same thing is happening with other industries or capitals that we could receive from Asia. They are protected in the Dominican Republic thanks to that free trade agreement. It is a destination with social, political, and economic stability, and with a free trade agreement in place. Therefore, we guarantee the institutionality. The Dominican Republic exports around 50% of their products to the United States, correct? More or less half of their exports. So the commercial relationship with the United States is therefore very important. There are a lot of people here that talk about the transformation of the Dominican Republic over the last years. The Dominican Republic has become much more important as an investment destination. You mentioned the pandemic before. What was your experience in terms of COVID? How did that help the Dominican Republic as model or an example to learn from in terms of facing future risks, because there are there's always risks to be faced in the future. What was your experience, and how does that strengthen the capacity of the Dominican Republic, and how has that helped the Dominican Republic to become a destination for more investment in the future, and how does that help you see uncertainty in the future? Well, for decades, we've maintained stability. We never faced anything like COVID before, neither did the entire world. And it's not only COVID, it's the war between Russia and Ukraine that has a great impact in many countries, and also in the Dominican Republic. We depend on fossil fuel imports, grains, and so on and so forth. However, we can say that it's not enough with having the right tools. It's also about knowing what tool to use at what time. There has to be good management with a good team. That's why I have to mention President Abinader and his team. So what did we do immediately? Interim, I, as a Minister of Industry, Commerce, and SMEs, together with the President, we created basically working groups with all the different sectors in order to address prices and see what type of supplies we had. Because if there are no supplies, then the prices can get out of hand. And we were doing that exercise daily. We were discussing that daily and identifying all the challenges. Then we also started implementing a policy of subsidies. That was some sort of protection or shield for the most vulnerable ones and bring peace to those that needed support. It created social tranquility. There were other countries that had a very similar scheme to the Dominican Republic, such as Ecuador or Panama, but at some point they faced social turmoil, and we did not, thanks to the fact that we maintained prices with inflation below the two-digit figures. So there were different inputs such as corn, urea, grains, flour, that has a great impact on the basic basket prices in the Dominican Republic. We stabilized all those prices, and that provided a lot of tranquility. So the capital, we received more capital, and that's why our foreign direct investment is on record times, as well as our experts. You also mentioned it at the beginning. If you talk about the Dominican Republic, everyone thinks about beaches, but the Dominican Republic is much more than that. The Dominican Republic is now positioning itself as a logistics hub. We have specific laws in place that have been agreed upon with the involvement of all sectors involved. And you mentioned that the Dominican Republic is a logistical hub, but it also is a country with a lot of stability. The Dominican Republic has managed to achieve this stability in the midst of a very uncertain world. Well, there is a meeting in the Dominican Republic in March. How could the Dominican Republic support it during this meeting? Well, with the United States, with the CHIP Act, they have the opportunity to value or rather to assess each one of the countries and see which country meets all the requirements, and then they can support the companies. And obviously based on a very specific assessment. Thank you very much, Ms. Minister, for your visit to the Atlantic Council. We are truly committed to supporting the bilateral relationship between the Dominican Republic and the United States. And not only the relationship, we also want to showcase the importance of the Dominican Republic as a hub in the Caribbean for investment and value chains. We're going now to have a panel
this conversation in the next panel, which will be moderated by my colleague Diego Area, with top business leaders from the Dominican Republic who are visiting today. But again, señor ministro, muchas gracias por estar aquí y esperamos.
Minister, thank you very much for being here with us today, and I hope to see you tomorrow and also in the Dominican Republic. Yes, I will see you in March. Thank you.